Welcome back to Generates. Today my video is about my experience at the Half Price Books flagship location in Dallas, Texas, because it was such an otherworldly experience that I wanted to make a video just for that. So if you don't know, I buy pretty much all of my books now at half price. I've done that for the last few years now, pretty much since I started working there, because before I started working there, I had never bought a book from there. And after I realized, like, oh my goodness, like, what have I been doing? Paying like regular full price for so many books for so long. And after I started working there, I realized like that was so unnecessary. And so pretty much now I buy all of my books there. And so recently I took a trip to Dallas. I was there from a Saturday to a Friday. So I was there for about 6 days, and I was really just exploring the city. And one of those days I happened to have some time after doing a little exploring. At that point I was like, I have to go to the Half Price flagship location. And so I did. And so it's unlike any Half Price books that I've ever been to, and I'm in Houston, and I've been to 6, and I think there's about 10 or so in the area, in the Houston area, and I've been to 6 different ones, including the one that I worked at. And so the first thing that you notice, just as you're driving up into the parking lot, is that it's a standalone building. And so that may not sound like that much, but every single Half Price Books that I've been to here, even some of the bigger ones in Houston, they're all in like strip centers. Some of them are in smaller ones than others, but they're all in like a strip center. I don't know why that is, that's just how it is. But the Half Price flagship location is a standalone building, and I think that's great. I don't know why, but I think it's great because you have parking literally around the entire building. And the next thing that you notice if you drive around a little bit, which I definitely did, is that they have their own entrance just for selling books. So everybody who's ever gone to Half Price has been in that scenario where somebody's going in with their books, you're trying to go in, and it's just like, ugh. Like, it's just a little traffic jam at the entrance because there's usually just 1 or 2 doors that open, and then everybody's trying to go through those. And especially if it's busy on like a Saturday or Sunday, that can be really rough. And so having that separate entrance just for selling is amazing because when I went in the store, the buy counter is literally just inside that entrance right there, so it's perfect. And I don't think, at least no location I've been to has that, because as I mentioned, the other locations I've been to, they're in a strip center, so there's just the one entrance. Another thing that I noticed, also, unlike every other location I've been to, they have a coffee shop at the location, which of course also, I think every location has Wi-Fi now, but they have a coffee shop at the location. Me personally, I don't drink coffee, so that's not that big of a deal, but I actually went in the wrong entrance, and I went into the coffee shop first. Because I don't know what the heck because I was like in awe actually. And so I went into the coffee shop and I'm like, whoops. And definitely there were people throughout the entire shop sitting there on their computers reading whatever it was. But that's just nice to have because let's be realistic. Every Books A Million location has some kind of coffee shop. And I think some even have frozen yogurt. Every Barnes & Noble has a coffee shop in there. I think they're usually Starbucks. I could be wrong on that though. That's definitely cool to have. Especially when it's such a large location, that to go ahead and throw that in there. And I'm sure they probably have more than just coffee. The other thing that I noticed was, oh my god, how big it was. Oh, okay, so I have to be honest with you. The location that I worked at, what we were told as workers was that it was the smallest one in Houston. Now whether or not that's true, I don't know, but it was definitely the smallest one that I've ever been to. And the ceilings were really low. Behind the buy counter, like where we have stores and stuff like that, there was no room for anything. It was just, everything was just somewhere. And there was not really any room, and a lot of times there was no room to even walk. Definitely not the case in this location. So, I don't know what the square footage is. I'm sure you could probably find that online. I didn't look, I probably should have. But this location, by far, and it's not close, of all the bookstores I've ever been to, by far the biggest location of a bookstore that I have ever been to. It was enormous. Every section was probably 2 or 3 times the size of what they are in other half price locations. For example, there were probably one, two, maybe three aisles of mystery paperbacks. Fairly common, but these were much longer than in other locations. There were probably maybe five different, uh, I don't know what you call them, like cubbies, I guess, of like mystery hardbacks. And this goes for like general fiction. It literally seemed like it was half the store. It was so big, and every author or every book that I looked for, I wasn't really looking to buy anything. I was just looking to explore. But every author or book that I thought of, I went and looked for, and I found it because they have everything, and it is absolutely insanity. The other thing that I noticed, of course, was that this location, because this is where they have all the actual author events, like book tours and stuff, they had a very good size, like events room, and that was super cool. They had a ton of chairs and tables to sit at throughout the store. Most locations have some. For example, the one that I went to, we had like maybe 4 or 5 chairs throughout the entire store because it was that small. But this one had tables and chairs throughout the store. The big events room. Another thing that I noticed, probably one of the final things, was that they had a ton of non-book stuff. So not only like DVDs, Blu-rays, and even like records and stuff, but also like games. I've never seen this many games in a half price location. So you have games, you have like board games, video games, and then like Funko Pop figures, and like just miscellaneous stuff. You know, I think like we think of like calculators, Kindles, stuff like that. At the end of the day, my experience in there was just, I was in there for about 2 hours just walking around. I ended up buying a book, but it wasn't one that I needed. It was one that, it was a replacement. So I have a copy of the book already, and it's in really, really bad shape because I bought it used. Online, never do that. But I bought it used online a couple years ago, and it was terrible condition. And I still read it, I still kept it, but I was able to replace it with the one that I bought from this half price location. Overall, it was such a great experience. It was such a big bookstore, so many books, such a big selection. Having the coffee shop there, having the separate entrance for when you're selling, just so much room to explore. Like, this store is so open compared to other locations because, again, they just have more square footage and more real estate to work with than other locations do. And honestly, it was just amazing. And for me, that's my favorite bookstore that I've ever been to. I know there's some ones that, like usually independent ones, that are really cool and just have a different atmosphere than a regular bookstore. But so far in my life, that one's number one. Probably Murder by the Book in Houston is number 2. But that's all I have for you today. I just wanted to tell you about my experience at the Half Price flagship location in Dallas because it was really, really amazing. And that's all I have for you today. So do make new videos every Monday now. I've been really good about it, except for when I was on vacation. I've been really good about it. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.